Happy Friday. I was just wondering if anybody felt that earthquake at 4 o'clock in the morning. I felt it. My blinds were, I could hear them shaking, and I could also see the light fixtures moving around. So anyway, it turns out there was an earthquake, not in California, but nearby in our neighboring state of Nevada. There was a 6.3 earthquake that I certainly felt, but maybe you all slept through it and didn't feel it. But anyway, that was interesting. I haven't felt an earthquake for a while. So anyway, so we're going to do science and social studies. So I'm going to go to my share screen and pull up my one of my PowerPoints, I hope. Let's see if I can get to one here. Just going to pull one up here as soon as this, I first have to hide this part and then click on this. Okay, I'm going to start with this one, the charge it. Okay, so this is my charge it PowerPoint. I have to get it to presentation mode though. All these little clicks and things take a few seconds. I know my classes used to me struggling with this in the classroom, so that's nothing new. Okay, for them anyway. But anyway, okay, so we're going to go to present. And here we go. Okay, so this is the one we're going to be working on right now. I am going to minimize me though, so I can read everything. But you'll still hear me talking. So this is the charge it. And so anyway, get your copy out and you can follow along with me as I read it. I like to go to the one that I've highlighted. And we all highlight different things. You know, we don't all have identical annotation styles or highlighting styles. So these are the things that really just stuck out to me that I wanted to make sure to talk to you about. So it's helpful if you can also just get into the habit of highlighting. And I'm using not the Microsoft PowerPoint, but I'm using the Google PowerPoint that Mrs. Evanson used, and I really like it, and I really like this pointer. It's kind of flashy. Okay, so anyway, let's read the questions, okay? Answer the following questions based on the reading passage. Don't forget to go back to the passage whenever necessary to find or confirm your answers. All right, so let's see, number one. What are two different materials that are good conductors of electricity? So you're going to be finding this information in the passage, okay? I'm just reading the questions first so you have an idea of what we're going to be looking for. How is static electricity different from electric current? 3, what could happen if the rubber coating on a power cord is damaged? 4, what is water, a conductor or an insulator? 5, in your own words, explain the difference between a conductor and an insulator. Okay, so let's go back up here. So the name of the article, it's cut off, but you'll see it on your copy. It's called Charge It, and its cross-curricular focus is physical science. All right, so let's see. Many people do not really understand how electricity works. They just know that when they need power to run on an appliance, they have to plug it into the wall. Energy comes from charged particles that are moving around. Have you ever rubbed a balloon against your clothes to make it stick? Have you ever held a balloon or a comb over someone's head to watch his hair stand up straight? That's static electricity and electrically charged particles. But these particles don't do much unless we control their energy. Static electricity builds up on certain materials. Other materials, though, let electrical charges flow through them. This creates an electrical current. Electric current travels very easily through metals like copper, gold, silver, and aluminum. We call materials that electric current flows through easily conductors. Water is also a good conductor of electricity. That's why electrical charges can travel through people too. There is water in every cell of a person's body. Electric current can travel through these cells. Since metal is a good conductor of electricity, electrical wires are often made out of metal. Wiring can also be made out of non-metal materials such as graphite. Conductors have to be enclosed in a material that is an insulator. Insulators do not allow electric current to pass through them. The rubber coating that you see on electrical cords covers the metal. The electric current stays inside the cord so we can direct the current to, and I see that bar down there is covering the bottom, so let me go to my copy. And I'm going to start again at this sentence up here, okay? The electric current stays inside the cord so we can direct the current to the appliance that needs power. Other good insulators are glass and some plastics. Okay, so I just have couple of slides to show you. So I found this little video. It's short. I like to find short little videos or clips to show you guys. And this is on electrical conductors and electrical insulators. Oops, but I have to play it first.
Using Powtoon.
Okay, like I said, that was pretty short, right? So I'm just gonna get back to my PowerPoint here, if I can. Okay, let me see. Here it is. Nope, no, here it is. So anyway, and so I have some pictures here for you too, right? So the electrical conductors, right? So the ones that can go through, flow through, are called conductors, right? And we have some examples here: silver, gold, seawater, copper, okay? And the insulators that do not flow through, glass, rubber, oil, plastic, okay? Because I know there's a question that you need to answer. You'll need that information. So let's see, what do we have next? Okay, so there's two types of electricity, static and current. So this is the static electricity. And there's this really short video that Bill Nye, the science guy, He has a little demonstration on static electricity. And if we were in class together, we would probably be doing these experiments with balloons. But here, let me just show this to you really quick.
Oh, hi. Rub a balloon on your hair and bring it near. Oh, hi. Rub a balloon on your hair and bring it near another balloon hanging by a string. There's an invisible field pushing the two balloons apart. When you rub the balloon, your electrons from your hair onto the surface of the balloon. Now, the balloon's made of rubber. Electrons don't flow through it the way they do metal wire. Instead, they stay on the surface of the rubber. We use the word static electricity, which means electricity that stays. Now, different materials have different properties. Here's a stiff rubber rod and a piece of fur. It's like rubbing a rubber balloon on my hair. It also will push the balloon away. But watch what happens when I use the same piece of fur and this glass rod. It pulls the balloon toward it. So in the first case, we say they have like charges, like static charges, so they repel. In this case, they have opposite static charges, so they attract. You can try different materials and different experiments. Here's some rubber making scraps of paper jump around. It's fun. Or you can try two at once. Here's a repelling rod and an attracting rod. Repelling, attracting, repelling, attracting.
He's funny, right? Because he's just showing you, as he was kind of playing around there, he was showing you that, you want to stay curious when you're talking about science, because he was doing different experiments and things like that. So, and of course, I'm probably always going to think of Alexa and the laminated tortilla when I think about science experiments and things like that. And I know we never really got to explore that, but that's just being curious about what would happen to things. Let's see. So electric current, it's the rate of flow of electric charge past a point or a region. Okay, so what is electric current? It just shows that it's, flows through. Okay, so, and static doesn't flow. Okay, so there's just a couple more little videos, and I'm making them they're really short, and they're just, they're very, I think they're just full of a lot of great information. I previewed a lot, and they're just little bits that might help you understand this concept and remember it. So let's see, let's start with this first one here.
Hey, wake up! From the moment your alarm goes off, the power grid... Hey, wake up! From the moment your alarm goes off, the power grid is already at work. It connects us electricity users to power generators, making our modern technology possible. Although millions of people plug into this network every day, most of us don't really think about it. But keeping us powered up is a pretty amazing feat of engineering. In the US, 86% of our electricity comes from coal, natural gas, and nuclear power. These energy sources heat water in large boilers to create high-pressure steam. That steam pushes against a large turbine that rotates a generator, creating electrical current. Another 7% of our electricity comes from hydroelectric stations. These stations have water dammed up behind them, and the rushing water current rotates their turbines. These plants run continuously and form the base load of our electricity. About 4% of our electricity comes from wind and solar. They need the weather to be just right in order to work. Wind needs a stiff breeze to rotate their turbines, and solar panels need the sun to shine. Once generated, the power grid connects the electricity to us. First, it is stepped up by a transformer from low voltage to high voltage. Think of it as an on-ramp to a high-speed interstate, where it can travel long distances efficiently. The US has enough high voltage lines to travel around the Earth 8 times. Once it reaches your city or town, a step-down transformer lowers the voltage. Smaller transformers in your neighborhood step down the voltage one more time to a level that's friendly to your electronics. Every time you switch on a light, you tap into this process that happens every second of every day. The grid powers schools, offices, hospitals, and makes our homes comfortable to live in. It connects us, not just to a complex network of generators and cables, but to the everyday miracle that is safe, reliable, and affordable electricity. Find out.
Okay, so also, I know you guys are working on a paper that is talking about this, and really looking forward to reading those. So let's see, let me just go back to my PowerPoint here. And there was just another little one here. I'm only gonna, it's a 5-minute video, but I'm only pulling out 1 minute of it that talks about static electricity and electric current. And I just thought it was a really good example. So let me just get this started for you.
Today we'll learn about
get
electricity.
to the 2-minute part though. Let's see if I can.
Today we'll learn about electricity. Visualize a different world where you couldn't turn on a light, a computer, in one place, or flow from one place to another place. There are 2 types of electricity, static and current. Let's study about these one by one. Static electricity. When electricity gathers in one place, it is called static electricity. For example, when you rub your feet on a carpet and then zap something when you touch it, it is static electricity that you have built up on the surface of your skin, discharging onto another object. Lightning is also a powerful example of static electricity. Current electricity. Electricity that moves from one place to another place is known as current electricity. Examples of current electricity are starting a motorbike, turning on a light, watching TV, playing video games, charging a cell phone, and many more. Do you remember whenever you visit the...
So that was all on the static electricity and the electric current. So anyway, so what you're going to end up doing now is you're going to go back to your handout and you're going to answer these questions, right? So I think already, without even maybe reading through the article or the passage again, you'll know how to answer these, right? So 1, what are 2 materials that are good conductors of electricity? And you can always, you know, pause this PowerPoint, you know, go back if you need to, or, you know, go and try to find the answer in the passage. Okay, there's context clues and they tell you exactly what you need to know. And how is static electricity different from electric current? What could happen if the rubber coating on a power cord is damaged? Okay, so what's interesting about that, I just have a little story I want to tell you about that. I had an old lamp and I plugged it in and it started to smoke. So obviously it wasn't being insulated and it was causing a fire. So old electrical wires can cause fires if they're not, you know, rubber coated or have a good insulator around them. But let's see, or it can cause fire or also can cause electric shock. And then it asks, is water a conductor or an insulator? And that's in the passage. And then they want to know in your own words to explain the difference between a conductor and an insulator. And then we'll talk about that later this afternoon. So let's go now to the social studies. Discrimination against Gold Rush immigrants. Now I know that 4th grade talked about immigrants and the gold rush and things like that in our social studies. You know, so I think a lot of this is review, but let's just go to the front of this. Okay, because there's some words that I wanted to go over with you. Okay, so discrimination against gold rush immigrants. I looked a lot online for videos on this and things, and I just didn't find anything that I really liked. So I just have one really short one at the very end. But anyway, so you have this, right? And this is the one that's obviously not highlighted by me. And then, let's see, my highlighted one is right here. But before we start, I just wanted to go over some of these words with you really quick. Okay, so discrimination. The unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. Okay, squatters. So squatter, I noticed, when I looked for the definition, it said this particular definition said historical. And it says a settler with no legal title to the land occupied, typically one on land not yet allocated by a government. Now, that obviously is the definition from a historical point of view, but I know we still use that word squatter now. So, if there's a vacant house or something like that, or a vacant building, a building that's no one is in, and somebody, starts staying in it, I think we loosely use that word squatter, and we can say, oh, there are people that are squatting in that building, or I think there are squatters there. And then also strike. And this is a multiple meaning word. We've talked about this word before because we studied Cesar Chavez and how he led strikes for the unjust treatment or discrimination of farm workers. And when I say multiple meaning word, remember, like if you have a baseball bat and you swing at a pitch and you miss the ball, it's called a strike. That's one of the multiple meanings. So anyway, so in this context, it's a refusal to work organized by a body of employees as a form of protest, typically in an attempt to gain a concession or concessions from their employer. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so then this is the article, and I will read it to you. Let's look at what they want you to answer. Okay, so first question, what is a squatter? 2, you read that the Chinese and Irish were made to live in certain areas. Do you think this was fair? Why or why not? 3, who were 2 immigrant groups that suffered discrimination? Let's see, 4, what did the foreign miners tax of 1850 make immigrants do? And 5, if you had been an immigrant who went to the gold rush, would you have stayed even though there was discrimination? Why or why not? And that's your opinion, okay? So maybe after you read this, and then just with the knowledge you already have about the gold rush and the times, and I think we've had questions similar to this before in our social studies books, you can just answer that. So let's see, discrimination against gold rush. I think I actually like my green arrow better than the red pointer thing. So let me see the red pointer cursor. Discrimination against gold rush immigrants, cross-curricular focus, history, social sciences. Immigrants came to California in the late 1840s and early 1850s for the gold rush. Many of them faced awful discrimination. They were not treated fairly by those around them. 2 of the largest immigrant groups were the Chinese and the Irish. Almost 50,000 Chinese came, attracted by the gold. In Ireland, the potato famine had killed thousands of Irish people between 1845 and 1849. There was not enough food for the people who lived there to eat. Those who were lucky were sponsored by wealthy patrons. The patrons paid travel expenses for them to start a new life in America. The United States government gave in to the pressure of citizens and passed some unfair laws during this time. In 1850, immigrant miners were forced to pay a foreign miner's tax of $20 per month. That gave the immigrant only the right to look for gold alongside the other miners. Many had to give up their dreams of gold. They were not able to pay the tax. By the 1870s, the Irish and Chinese populations in California were very large. Many citizens grew worried. They thought the immigrants were trying to take their jobs. They thought they were using resources that belonged to them. Chinese and Irish immigrants were sometimes forced off their land. Some were told they must live in certain cities or areas. The land where they had lived was taken over by squatters. Squatters are people who settle on land they do not own in the hopes of claiming it after a period of time. The immigrants struggled to find jobs or had to take hard jobs for very little pay. Occasionally, immigrants went on strike to try to improve their working conditions and pay. The strikes were not usually successful. Okay, now I'm going to read off of my paper down here because that's covering that lower bar is covering up the, okay, it's gone now. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 prevented any more Chinese immigrants from coming to the United States. The law was not changed until 1943. That is a long time. So let's see. Now I put this up because I know that Mrs. Evanson had, and when you guys were working on those grammar pages, that you guys had the word immigration, EM, or immigration. Okay, and I think that these words get confused often. So let's see, immigration versus emigration. So I know I've talked to you guys about this before. So let's look at emigrate. So look at try to remember that E means exit. So emigrate means people leave a country, okay? And immigrate, you look at the I, you look at, it says go into a country, right? So this I means into, and this E means exit. So if you immigrate, when people come into a country, okay? So this is an example. If I move from the United States to Canada, I emigrate from the US and immigrate to Canada. To Canada, I am an immigrant, okay? So just some extra practice with that. And then I found these pictures online that just showed examples of discrimination, right? No, so, you know, it says help wanted, no Irish need apply. So they did not want to hire Irish people. And then this one says Chinese, no, no, no. And they're setting up a meeting because they don't want Chinese immigrants. So there were two types of discrimination law that are in the article. The first one was, oops, looks like I spelled that wrong. See that? There's not supposed to be an H there, so I wanted to fix that. Foreign miners tax of 1850, and that was the $20 tax per month. And a lot of these miners, the Chinese miners, for example, would only get paid $26 for the month. So that would be, you know, $20 of 26. There's no way that they could afford it. And then the other law, the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882. Now this little tiny clip down here, it's just an advertisement to a much bigger video, but I just thought it just gives you a little bit of information that I found very interesting. So let's just look at that really quick.
This is not yet another ethnic oppression story. This is a very American story. Chinese Exclusion Act forbid Chinese to immigrate to the United States, and those who were here were not allowed to become citizens. Chinese, they are so different, they're taking our jobs, they cannot become Americans.
There was no immigration policy before the Chinese came. So if you ask an American citizen, hey, when was it determined that if you're born here, you're an American? They would have just said, what do you mean? That's the oxygen we breathe. That must have been part of the Constitution. No. In 1898, it was decided that all persons born in the United States are United States citizens, no matter what. The Chinese Exclusion Act was blatantly unconstitutional.
It reflects how America saw itself at one time and how it continues to see itself. Some of it has to do with the fact that we excluded Chinese for 60 years.
This history really is the beginning of where we are today. The issues we're asking: who can come and who cannot come? Who can be American?
So anyway, I thought that was interesting. It's just a little information about a much bigger program that, you know, we're not gonna watch. So anyway, so as far as getting back to the PowerPoint, to get back to the PowerPoint here, as soon as I can access that X up there. I'm just gonna pause this for a second. Okay, so I just got back to the page that you need to answer the questions, okay? So just go ahead and answer these 5 questions, and then I will see you this afternoon at 2:20. And I'm really looking forward to it.